जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोधानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यशोधानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोधानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे जय Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol युग धर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन की शील प्रभुपाद की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 6, titled The Activities of Lord Rishabdev, and text 19. नित्यात्मभूत निजलाभ निवृत्त तृष्णः श्रेयसत्तद्रचनान् रचनया चिरसुप्तबुद्धेः लोकस्य या करुणया भयम् आत्मलोकम् आख्यान नमो भगवते ऋषभाय तस्मै नित्यानुभूत निजलाभ निवृत्त तृष्णः श्रेयसा तद रचनया चिर सप्तभूत बुद्धहे लोकस्य यः करुणया भयम् आत्मलोकम् आख्याय नमो भगवते ऋषभाय तस्मै नित्यानुभूत निजलाभ निवृत्त तृष्णः श्रेयसा तदरचनया चिरसप्तबुद्धे लोकस्य यः करुणया भयम् आत्मलोकम् आख्यान नमो भगवते ऋषभाय तस्मै लोकस्य या करुणया आत्मलोकम् आख्यान नमो भगवते ऋषभाय तस्मै नित्यानुभूत निजलाभ निवृत्त तृष्णः श्रेयस्तदर्शनया शिरसप्तबुद्धे लोकस्य य करुणभयात्मलोकम् आख्यान नमो भगवते ऋषभाय तस्मै नित्यानुभूत निजलाभनिवृत्ततृष्णः श्रेयस्य तदर्शनया चिरसप्तबुद्धे लोकस्य यः करुणया भयमात्मलोकम् आख्यान नमो भगवते ऋषभाय तस्मै नित्यानुभूत निजलाभनिवृत्ततृष्णः श्रेयसा तदरचनया चिरसुप्तबुद्धे लोकस्य यः करुणया भय आत्मलोकम् आख्यान नमो भगवते ऋषभाय तस्मै. Word to word meaning: Nityanubhuta, due to being always conscious of his real identity. Nija labha nivritta trishnaha, who was complete in himself and had no other desires to fulfill. Shreyasi, in life's genuine welfare. Atad rachanaya, by expanding activities in the material field. Mistaking the body for the self. Chira, for a long time. Supta, sleeping. Buddhe, whose intelligence. Lokasya, of men. Yaha, who, Lord Rishabdev. Karunaya, by his causeless mercy. Abhayam, fearlessness. Atmalokam, the real identity of the self. Akhyat, instructed. Namaha, respectful obeisances. Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rishabhaya, unto Lord Rishabdev. Tasmai, unto him. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Rishabdeva, was fully aware of his true identity. Therefore, he was self-sufficient and he did not desire external gratification. There was no need for him to aspire for success. Since he was complete in himself, those who unnecessarily engage in bodily conceptions and creates an atmosphere of materialism are always ignorant of their real self-interest. Out of his causeless mercy, Lord Rishabdev taught the self's real identity and the goal of life. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who appeared as Lord Rishabdev. Purport: this is the summary of this chapter, in which the activities of Lord Rishabdev are described. Being the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Lord Rishabdev is complete in himself. We living entities, as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, should follow the instructions of Lord Rishabdeva and become self-sufficient. We must not create unnecessary demands due to the bodily conception. When one is self-realized, he is sufficiently satisfied due to being situated in his original spiritual position. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18.54, Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati. This is the goal of all living entities. Even though one may be situated within this material world, he can become fully satisfied and devoid of hankering and lamentation simply by following the instructions of Lord as set forth in Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. Satisfaction through self realization is called Swarupananda. The conditioned soul, eternally sleeping in darkness, does not understand his self interest. He simply tries to become happy by making material adjustments. But this is impossible. It is therefore said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nate vidur swartagatim hi Vishnum. Due to gross ignorance, the conditioned soul does not know that his self interest is to take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. To try to become happy by adjusting the material atmosphere is a useless endeavor. Indeed, it is impossible. By this personal behavior and instructions, Lord Rishabdev enlightened the conditioned soul and showed his how to become self sufficient in his spiritual identity. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 5th canto, 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Activities of Lord Rishabdeva. Om Ajnanitimirandasya Gnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamavyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvita Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahabadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratisave Namaha Namo He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhan Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhrascha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim Yatkrupatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinadayanam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwanam Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Rishabdev, was fully aware of his true identity. Therefore, he was self sufficient and he did not desire external gratification. There was no need for him to aspire for success since he was complete in himself. Those who unnecessarily engage in bodily consumption and create an atmosphere of materialism are always ignorant of their real self interest. Out of his causeless mercy, Lord Rishabdev taught the self's real identity and goal of life. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto the Lord who appeared as Lord Rishabdev. So this is the chapter, the activities of Lord Rishabdev, and this is the last sloka of this chapter. And with this, Lord Rishabdev pastimes will end in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then later the sons, the Rishabdev sons, Bharat Maharaj activities and glories will be described. Next 7 chapters will be talked about the Bharat Maharaj pastimes. So here, as Prabhupada says in the purport, that this sloka is a summary of this chapter. So, in which, like, all the activities of the Lord Rishabdev are nicely described. So, we already have seen the teachings of Rishabdev, then activities of Rishabdev in the previous chapters and this chapter. So, we know like how important that the teachings of Lord Rishabdev, and especially to the son, to all the sons, and in general in the public also, he has given these instructions so that they can develop this, or they come to this platform to know what is their real self-interest. So, here Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj were describing about the activities, and Parikshit Maharaj was eagerly hearing and asking the questions. And here the Sukadeva Goswami concludes this pastime by this last verse, and this verse talks about the entire the activities, what in a crisp, what are the activities Lord Rishabdev and teachings of Lord Rishabdev. So here we see Lord Rishabdev was aware of his true identity, and therefore he was self-sufficient. So we see, like, Lord Rishabdev is he is none other than Bhagavan, like unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here it's described, like, he is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and here in the translation it is given like he is fully aware of his true identity. So he knows that he is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he know that what is his self-sufficient, what is his like, what is his capacity and what is his power and all. So even though he is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, so he never shown his kind of powers and things like that, but mostly his first focus was to teach some kind of moral instructions, moral values to the people, so that they can lead a good life, dharmic life, and come to the understanding of what is our self-interest and what is our real identity, and what should be our connection between the Lord. So especially we see this is the talking about the sambandha, and without sambandha there is no abhidheya, and what to speak of prayojan. So so this sambandha here Rishabdev has nicely given in these chapters, like teachings of Lord Rishabdev and the activities of the Rishabdev. So we like Lord self-sufficient, we can say, like, if something is needed for the Lord, he can manifest and he can enjoy it. But our self-sufficient is like, no, we can't do that, all these things. So, but we can't imitate also, like, especially in the previous slokas also we have seen, no one can imitate like, Rishabdev also. His activities are glorious, and it is very difficult for a ordinary person to imitate. So rather we can take teachings from those activities what Rishabdev has been doing it. So but what is our self-sufficient? So self-sufficient means, like, to know our self real interest, that I am a soul and the part and parcel of the Lord, and to establish that real connection which is lost. Now that is our self interest, and or self-sufficient. So we may not be become like a God, but we can become a servant of the God, and that is our real identity. So, and uh, and here we see in the sloka like nija labha nivrutta trishnaha is being said. So, it is called who was complete in himself and has no other desires to fulfill. So, here labha means what? Generally, what is the meaning of gain, profit? So, generally, living entities are behind this labha. Generally, we say like puja, labh, pratishta. So, that labha is different, what here is being taught. So, labha in the general public, they think that for my gain, for my own sense gratification, they think. But here, nija labha, it is being said, what is our true gain? The true gain is like to complete in himself, and means complete in himself means to understand like what is my position and what is my real position, and that is what like I'm a part and parcel of the Lord, and I'm a servant of the Lord, and that is our real identity, that is our nija labha. So, and we should give up this that material kind of understanding of a labha. We should be nivritta, we should be completely free from that. And trishnaha means like the thoughts about that. So, we should be free from the thoughts about that kind of the so called labha. So, we should be free from that. So, until unless we don't be free from that, so we may not able to establish or understand that what is our real identity. So, we should actually as a human beings, we got this opportunity to know this kind of things. So, this is our higher purpose of our life, which generally material world outside they don't teach us, right. So, we see like people are so active outside, they are running here and there, and we know like why they are so active, because the nature of the soul is active, right. But they are misusing that in their own sense gratification. So, Prabhupada says like uh, I'm never be lazy, he says. So, in the sense like he never lazy in the terms of executing devotional services. So, we can see like how Prabhupada was very busy, keeping himself very busy, always active. So, here we see like people outside also very active and devotees here also very active. Then what is the difference? What is the difference? So, the difference is people, they are being what we call driven by the mode of passion. So, they are very active and they are running behind here and there, and what is the result of that? So, they are never satisfied. So, but here Prabhupada says like I am never lazy, means I am always active, in the sense like not that we are being driven by the mode of passion, no, we are being active just to execute our devotional activities. So, to please the Lord, not to please our own senses. So, Prabhupada's setting an example for all of us like how to be always engaged in the Krishna conscious activity, and how can the activity which we are doing does not being driven by the mode of passion. So, rather it is transcendental activities, because we are all engaged in the service of the Lord. So, the goal is like wanted to render devotional service to the Lord. So, in that sense we are very active and we are not lazy. So, that means the Prabhupada says. So, here in the purport also Prabhupada writes this: the conditioned soul does not know that his real self interest is to take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. So, that is what like the self, the interest, the real self interest. So, that we have to take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, and then Prabhupada says to try to become happy by adjusting the material material atmosphere is a useless endeavor. So that's what we see the outside people. They are all running here and there just to adjust the atmosphere to make it happy. Right? It may appear like happy, but they are never happy. Yesterday, when I was in the evening, when I was talking to a visitor, he was. I was saying like what you are doing and things like that, and he was explaining many things. So he is into farm projects, and he wanted to uh, uh, go out of the city and be there in the farm project. That was his goal, because city's life is, he was not very happy with that, because it was everywhere running here and there. So then he was giving example of his brother, who is a doctor, and for money he sell himself for money, and now he is a big millionaire. He said like my brother is big multimillionaire, but I asked him like is he happy with that money? And he said definitely I can say he is not happy. So what is the use of earning so much? You sell yourself for the money and wanted to enjoy, but simply you are not able to do anything with that, and you are ultimately you lost your these things self interest, I want to be happy with the money, but definitely you are not happy. Then what is the purpose of having the money, right? So people, they adjust this atmosphere to make it happy, but it appears to be happy, but they are not happy. So that's what Prabhupada says, indeed it is impossible, Prabhupada says, right? So we the happiness where we can get it, that is from the lotus feet of the Lord. So when we surrender to the ourselves at the lotus feet of the Lord, and when we follow the instructions what Lord Rishabdev has given, and Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam directly he gives, um, uh, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna that this I forgot the Sanskrit word, how come these contaminations came into your mind? Kashmalam. So this contamination, how come it came to us? So means we can see those contaminations are there with us also. So Krishna is giving those kind of instruction not to only the Arjuna, but no, it is giving Krishna is giving to saying for all of us. So one who follows those instructions, definitely, so they can be happy. The thing is we should understand what is our self interest. So real self interest, that's what Prabhupada says here. Now the real self interest of a soul is to be surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord. So when we surrender to the Lord, then definitely we achieve that real self interest, and that is what we will be always happy. We will be always happy. We can see how many devotees in their life we can see who are all taken the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So they are very happy, peaceful. That's what it says here, abhayam. No, they are fearless. No, they don't have any kind of fear in their heart. How these materialists, they always fear about their security. What will happen now? What will happen next? How can I secure safely my money and things like that? But yeah, ultimately, neither they enjoy or neither they allow others to enjoy. So finally they have to die, and yes, the people are there ready to plunder it. So we have seen that so many babas who are showing some gymnastics, they accumulate so much money, but saying that they are a god. Now that god is no more, and later they plundered anything, and I heard people now stop going there, because before he was there, so-called Baba, the things were somewhat going in a right direction. Now he is no one is there to take care, and people, they come and say we are no more interested to go there, because everything is going wrong there. So by the name of Baba, they do so many things, activities. So no one is interested now. So many things are there like this happening in the society, but until unless how can I be saved? So when we follow the instructions what Rishabdev has given, the activities, and by reading Bhagavad Gita Bhagavatam, so we can be saved. Until unless we are doesn't understand this, no, it will be difficult, because now currently the education system is itself wrong. Now Prabhupada says, like, our education now, modern education system are slaughterhouses. Now they are slaughtering their consciousness, and they are degrading their consciousness. With their degrading consciousness, how can they be happy? No, they never be happy. Rather, there will be always misunderstandings, and there will be always, fights amongst the people. So-called educated, but they will be having a lot of grudges, and they will be having a lot of fights between among them. Right? We see that between many big politicians and all. They are having good education, but useless. Like, they keep quarreling for a small place or for position. They keep quarreling. So it's a, like, a good job opportunity for us, like, as a human beings we got. So by reading the activities of Rishabh Dev, so we can understand. So here Prabhupada writes here, even though one may be situated within this material world, he can become fully situated and devoid of hankering and lamentation simply by following the instructions of Lord as set forth in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So those instructions are already there. So we have to just take out our time and, like, take this opportunity. Don't misuse it. Yeah. So this is what the last verse says, and next then there comes, like, activities of King Bharata, so the son, after for hearing the instructions from his father, so how he implemented, how he did it, so those things comes in the activities. Next 7 chapters goes about this only. So I just would like to pause here. Any questions or comments?
Hey Krishna, so this point about Nijalabha means one's understanding one's own real position and also to gain Krishna, so that's a nice point. And like being very active means generally in this world they'll be driven by mode of passion, but spiritually, being active is called as being very active in Krishna consciousness. So that is not driven by mode of passion, and that is by the spiritual inspiration. So these points are nice. And today's this one, Chiradahi Utsav of the morning, I was just reading some this one, and at the end it is mentioned about like Raghunath Das Goswami's renunciation. So if after discussion, like if we have some time, like we can read few this one shlokas from Raghunath Das Goswami's renunciation. Good for brahmacharis to
You can actually do that now. We have 15 minutes.
is Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya-lila, chapter 6, shloka number 188. Still going on. So, what we chapter 6, 188. We'll read one by one shlokas. Everyone. So he reached Jagannath Puri in 12 days but could not eat for 3 days on the way. So this is Raghunath Das Goswami after the Panihati Chidada Utsav. So he gets the blessings of Nityananda Prabhu and he gets to proceed to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without any hindrance. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is living in Jagannath Puri, so like he has successfully reached there. So that's the point, we are there. So this is 188. So till the time you all get the proper verse, I'll read one or two shlokas. When Raghunath Das met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord was sitting with his companions headed by Swarup Damodar. Staying at a distant place in the courtyard, he fell down to offer obeisances, and then Mukunda Datta said, "Here is Raghunath." Got it? Oh? Okay. Okay. So,
As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these words, he immediately welcomed Raghunath Das. Come here. He said, Raghunath Das then clasped the lotus feet of the Lord, but the Lord stood up and embraced him out of his causelessness.
Raghunath Das offered praise at the lotus feet of all the devotees, headed by Swarup Damodar Goswami. Seeing the special mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had bestowed upon Raghunath Das, they embraced him also.
Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the mercy of Lord Krishna is stronger than anything else. Therefore, the Lord has delivered you from the ditch of materialistic life, which is like a hole into which people pass through.
Raghunath Das answered within his mind, I do not know who Krishna is. I simply know that your mercy, O my Lord, has saved me from eternal life.
The Lord continued, your father and his elder brother are so related as brothers to my grandfather, Nilambara Chakravarti. Therefore, I consider them my grandfathers. Since your father and his elder brother are younger brothers of Nilambara Chakravarti, I may joke about them in this way. My dear Raghunath Das, your father and his elder brother are just like worms storing the deeds of material enjoyment, but the great disease of the poison of material enjoyment is what they consider happiness. Although your father and uncle are charitable to Brahmas and greatly help them, they are nevertheless not pure Vaishnavas. However, they are almost like Vaishnavas.
Those who are attached to materialistic life and are blind to spiritual life must act in such a way that they are bound to repeat birth and death by the actions and reactions of their activities.
By its own free will, Lord Krishna has delivered you from such a condemned materialistic life. Therefore, the glories of Lord Krishna's causeless mercy cannot be expressed.
Seeing Raghunath Das skinny and dirty because of having traveled for 12 days and fasted, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his heart melting due to causeless mercy, spoke to Swarup Damodar.
My dear Swarupa, he said, I entrust this Raghunath Das to you. Please accept him as your son or servant.
There are now 3 Raghunathas among my associates. From this day forward, this Raghunath should be known as the Raghu of Sarupa Damodar.
Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu grasped the hand of Raghunath Das and entrusted him to the hands of Swarup Damodar Goswami.
Swarup Damodar Goswami accepted Raghunath Das, saying, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whatever you order is accepted. He then embraced Raghunath Das again.
I cannot properly express the affection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his devotees. Being merciful toward Raghunath Das,
The Lord spoke as follows to Govind.
On the way, Raghunath Das has fasted and undergone hardship for many days. Therefore, take good care of him for some days so that he may eat, so is satisfaction.
Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Raghunath Das, go bathe in the sea, then see Lord Jagannath in the temple, and return here to take your meal.
After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up and went to perform his midday duty, and Raghunath made all the devotees present. Made all the devotees present.
Having seen the causeless mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu upon Raghunath Dasa, all the devotees struck with wonder praised his good fortune.
Raghunath Dasa took his bath in the sea and saw Lord Jagannatha. Then he returned to Govinda, the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Govinda offered him a plate with the remnants of food left by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Raghunatha Dasa accepted the program with great happiness.
Raghunath Das stayed under the care of Swarup Damodar Goswami, and Govinda supplied him remnants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's food for 5 days.
Beginning from the sixth day, Raghunath Das would stand at the gate known as Simhadwara to beg alms after the Pushpanjali ceremony, in which flowers were offered to the Lord.
After finishing their prescribed duties, the many servants of Lord Jagannath, who are known as Visayas, returned home at night.
If they see a Vaishnava standing at the Simhadwara begging alms, out of mercy they arrange with the shopkeeper to give him something to eat.
Thus it is a custom for all time that a devotee who has no other means of support stands at the Simhadwara gate to receive alms from the servants.
A completely dependent Vaishnava thus chants the holy name of the Lord all day and sees Lord Jagannath with full freedom.
It is a custom for some Vaishnavas to beg from the charity both and eat with both and both and eat wherever
Charity booth.
Charity booths.
charity booths and eat whatever they obtain, whereas others stand at night at the Simhadwara gate begging alms from the servants.
Renunciation is the basic principle sustaining the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees. Saying this renunciation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is extremely satisfied.
Govinda said to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das no longer takes prasadam here. Now he stands at the Simhadwara where he begs some alms to eat.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, he was greatly satisfied. Raghunath Das has done well, he said. He has acted suitably for a person in the renounced order.
A person in the renounced order should always chant the holy name of the Lord. He should beg some alms to eat, and he should sustain his life in this way.
A Vairagi, a person in the removed order, should not depend on others. If he does so, he will be unsuccessful and he will be neglected by Krishna.
Renunciant is eager for his tongue to taste different foods. His spiritual life will be lost, and he will be subservient to the taste of his tongue.
The duty of a person in the renounced order is to chant Hare Krishna mantra always. He should satisfy his belly with whatever vegetables, leaves, fruits, and fruits are available.
One who is subservient to the tongue and who has goes here and there, devoted to the genitals and the belly, cannot attend Krishna.
The next day, Raghunath Das inquired at the lotus feet of Swarup Damodar about his duty.
I do not know why I have given up household life, he said. What is my duty? Kindly give me instructions.
Raghunath Das never even spoke a word before the Lord. Instead, he informed the Lord of his desires through Swarup Damodar Goswami and Govinda.
The next day, Sarup Damodar Goswami submitted to Sri Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Dasa asked, this is to say at your lotus feet.
I do not know my duty or the goal of my life. Therefore, please personally give me instructions from your transcendental knowledge.
Smiling, Sri Chaitanya
is and how to discharge it. I do not know as much as he.
Nevertheless, if you want to take instruction from me with faith and love, you may ascertain your duties from the following words.
Do not talk like people in general, or hear what they say. You should not eat very palatable food, nor should you dress very nicely.
Do not expect honor, but offer all respect to others. Always chant the holy name of Lord Krishna, and within your mind render service to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. I have briefly given my instructions. Now you will get more details about them from Swarup Damodar.
One who thinks himself better than grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, but it is always prepared to give respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord.
Having heard this, Raghunath Das offered praise at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord, out of great mercy, embraced him.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again entrusted him to Swarup Damodar. Then Raghunath Das rendered very confidential service with Swarup Damodar Goswami.
All this time, all the devotees from Bengal arrived. And, as previously, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met them with great frequency.
As he had previously done, he fenced the Gaudiya temple and Gulticha temple, held a picnic feast in the garden with the devotees.
The Lord again danced with the devotees during the Rathayatra festival. Seeing this, Raghunath Das was struck with wonder.
When Raghunath Das met all the devotees, Advaita Acharya showed him great mercy.
He also met Shivananda Sena, who informed him, "Your father sent 10 men to take your body."
He wrote me a letter asking me to send you back. But when those 10 men received no information about you, they returned home from Jankara.
When the devotees from Bengal returned home after staying, when all the devotees from Bengal returned home after staying at Jagannath Puri for 4 months, Raghunath Das's father heard about their arrival and therefore sent a man to Shivananda.
That man inquired from Shivanand Sen, did you see anyone in the renowned order at the residence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? That person is Raghunath Das, the son of Govardhan Majumdar. Did you meet him in Nilasha?
Shivananda Sena replied, "Yes, sir. Raghunath Das is with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and is a very famous man. Who does not know him?"
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has placed him under the charge of Swarup Damodar. Raghunath Das has become just like the life of all the Lord's devotees.
He chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra all day and night. He never gives up the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not even for a moment.
He is in the supreme order of renounced life. Indeed, he does not care about eating or dressing. Somehow or other, he eats and maintains his life.
After telling Dandas, 4 hours of the night have passed and Raghunath Das has seen the performance of Pushpanjali. He stands at the Simhadwara gate to beg some alms for him.
He eats if someone gives him something to eat. Sometimes he fasts, and sometimes he chews fried grains.
After hearing this, the messenger returned to Majumdar and informed him all about Raghunath Das.
Hearing the description of Raghunath Das' behavior in the renowned order, his father and mother were very unhappy. Therefore, they decided to send Raghunathan some man with goods for his comfort.
Raghunath Dasa's father immediately sent 400 coins, 2 servants, and 1 brahmana to Shivananda Sena. Shivananda Sena informed them, "You cannot go to Jagannatha Puri directly. When I go there, you may accompany me."
Now go home. When all of us go, I will take all of you with me.
Describing this incident, the great poet Sri Kavi Karnapura has written extensively about the glorious activities of Raghunath Das in Raghunath Das is a disciple of Yogananda Acharya, who is very gentle and is extremely dear to Vasudeva Datta, a resident of Kanchanapuri. Because of Raghunath Das's transcendental qualities, he is always more dear than life for all of us devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Since he has been favored by the abundant mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is always pleasing, vividly providing a superior example for the renounced order. This very dear follower of Sarup Damodar Goswami is the ocean of renunciation. Who among the residents of Nilachal, Jagannath Puri, does not know him very well?
Because he is very pleasing to all the devotees. Raghunath Dasa Goswami easily becomes like the fertile earth of good fortune, in which it was suitable for the seed of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be sown. At the same time that the seed was sown, it grew into a matchless tree of the love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and produced fruit.
In this verse, the great poet Kavi Karnapura gives the same information that Shivananda Sen conveyed to the messenger from Raghunath Das father.
The next year, when Shivanand Sen was going to Jagannath Puri as usual, the servants and the Brahmana, who was a cook, went with him.
The servants and Brahmana brought 400 coins to Jagannath Puri, and there they met Raghunath Das.
Raghunath Dasa did not accept the money and money sent by his father. Therefore, the Brahmana and one of their servants stayed there with the money.
At that time, Raghunath Das began inviting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his house with great attention for 2 days every month.
The first for these two
Occasions.
occasions was for 640 cowries. Therefore, he could take that much from the servant and the Brahman.
Raghunath Das continued to invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this way for 2 years, but at the end of the second year he stopped.
When Raghunath Dasa neglected to invite Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 2 consecutive months, the Lord, the son of Sachi, questioned Swarupa Damodara. The Lord asked, "Why has Raghunatha Dasa stopped inviting me?"
I invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by
Okay, in the application, half only will come. If it is question answer, both are there. So, Saurabh Damodar replied, he must have reconsidered something in his mind. Okay.
I invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by accepting goods from materialistic people. I know that the Lord's mind is not satisfied by this.
My consciousness is impure because I accept all these goods from people who are interested only in pounds, shillings, and pence. Therefore, by this kind of imitation, I get only some material reputation.
At my request, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts the invitations because he knows that a foolish person like me would be unhappy if he did not accept one.
Considering all these points, Swarupa Damodar concluded, he has stopped inviting me. Hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and spoke as follows.
When one eats food offered by a materialistic man, one's mind becomes contaminated. And when the mind is contaminated, one is unable to think of Krishna properly.
When one accepts an invitation from a person contaminated by the material mode of passion, the person who offers the food and the person who accepts it are both mentally contaminated.
Because of Raghunath Das's eagerness, I accepted his invitation for many days. It is very good that Raghunath Das, knowing this, has now automatically given up this practice.
After some days, Raghunath Dasa gave up standing near the Simhadwara gate and instead began eating by begging alms from the both for free distribution of food.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this news from Govinda, he inquired from Swarup Damodar, "Why does Raghunath Das no longer stand at the Simhadwara gate to beg alms?"
Swarup Damodar replied, Raghunath Das felt unhappy standing at the Simhadwara, therefore he is now going at the midday to beg alms from the charity booth.
Hearing this news, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "He has done very well by no longer standing at the Simha Dwara gate. Such begging of alms resembles like the behavior of a
the person coming near. He will give me something. This person gave me something last night. Now another person is coming near. He may give me something. The person who just passed did not give me anything. But another person will come and he will give me something. Thus, a person in the Reynolds order gives up his neutrality and depends on the charity of this person or that. Thinking in this way, he adopts occupation of a prostitute.
If one goes to the booth where free food is distributed and fills his belly with whatever he obtains, there is no chance of further unwanted talk, and one can very peacefully chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again bestowed his mercy upon Raghunath Dasa by giving him a stone from Govardhana Sri and a garland of small conchs.
Previously, when Shankarananda Saraswati had returned from Vrindavan, he had bought the stone from Govardhan Hill and also the garland of conch shells. He presented Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with these two items, the garland of conch shells and the stone from Govardhan Hill.
Upon receiving these two uncommon items, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely happy. While chanting, he would put the garland around his neck.
The Lord would put the stone to his heart or sometimes to his eyes. Sometimes he would smell it with his nose and sometimes place it on his head.
The stone from Govardhan was always moist with tears from his eyes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would say, this stone is directly the body of Lord Krishna.
For 3 years, he kept the stone and garland. Then, greatly satisfied by the behavior of Raghunath Das, Lord delivered both of them to him.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Raghunath Dasa, this stone is the transcendental form of Lord Krishna. Worship the stone with great eagerness.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, worship this stone in the mode of goodness like a perfect Brahmana. For by such worship you will surely attain ecstatic love of Krishna without delay.
For such worship, one needs a jug of water and a few flowers from a tulsi tree. This is worshipping complete goodness when performed with complete purity.
With faith and love, you should offer 8 soft tulsi flowers, each with 2 tulsi leaves, one on each side of each flower.
After thus advising him how to worship, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally offered Raghunath Dasa the Govardhana Sila with his transcendental hand. He advised by the Lord, Raghunath Dasa worshipped, as advised by the Lord, Raghunath Dasa worshipped the Srila in a great transcendental jubilation.
Swarupa Damodara gave Raghunatha Dasa two cloths, each about 6 inches long, a wooden platform, and a jug in which to keep water. Thus Raghunath Dasa began worshipping the stone from Govardhana, and as he worshipped, he saw the supreme personality of Lord Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, directly in the stone.
Thinking of how he had received the golden Shiva directly from the hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das was always flooded with ecstatic love. The amount of transcendental bliss that Raghunath Das enjoyed simply by offering water in tulsi is impossible to achieve, even if one worships the deity with 16 kinds of passion alone.
After Raghunath Dasa had first worshipped the Govardhan Sila for some time, Swarupa Damodara one day spoke to him as follows.
Offer the Govardhana stone 8 kundis, kodis worth of the first class sweet meat known as khaja and sandesh. If you offer them with faith and love, they will be just like nectar.
Raghunath Das then began offering the costly sweetmeats known as khaja, which Govinda, following the order of Swarup Damodar, would supply.
When Raghunath Das received from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the stone and the garland of conch shells, he could understand the Lord's intention. Thus he thought as follows.
By offering me the Govardhan Shila, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has offered me a place near Govardhana Hill, and by offering me the garland
regulatory brimstone were exactly like the lines on a stone.
Raghunath spent more than 22 hours out of every 24 chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. He ate and slept for less than an hour and a half, and on some days that was also not impossible.
Topics concerning his renunciation are wonderful. Throughout his life, he never allowed his tongue self-gratification.
He never touched anything to wear except a small torn cloth and a patchwork wrapper. Thus, he very rigidly executed the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Whatever he ate was only to keep his body and soul together, and when he ate, he would reproach himself thus. If one's heart has been cleansed by perfect knowledge and one has understood Krishna, the Supreme Brahman, he then gains everything. Why should such a person act like a devotee by trying to maintain his material body very carefully?
Lord Jagannath's prasadam is sold by shopkeepers, and that which is not sold decomposes after 2 or 3 days.
All the decomposed food is thrown before the cows from Tailanga at the Simhadwara gate. Because of its rotten odor, even the cows cannot eat it.
At night, Raghunath Das would collect that decomposed rice, bring it home, and wash it with ample water.
Then he ate the hard inner portion of rice with salt.
One day Swarup Damodar saw the activities of Raghunath Das. Thus he smiled and asked for a small portion that food and eat it.
Swarup Damodar said, "You eat such a nectar every day, and but you never offer it to us. What is your character?"
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this of this from the mouth of Govinda, he went there the next day and spoke as follows.
What nice things are you eating? Why do not you give anything to me? Saying this, he forcibly took a morsel and began to eat.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking another morsel of food, Swarupa Damodar caught him by the hand and said, "It is not fit for you." Thus, he forcibly took the food away.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Of course, every day I eat varieties of prasadam, but I have never tasted such nice prasadam as that which Raghunatha is eating."
Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed many pastimes at Jagannatha Puri. Seeing the severe penances performed by Raghunatha Dasa in the renounced order, the Lord was greatly satisfied.
In this poem known as Gauranga's Tava Kalpa Vriksha, Raghunath Dasa has described his personal deliverance. Although I am a fallen soul, the lowest of men, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered me from the blazing forest fire of great material opulence by his mercy. He handed me over in great pleasure to Swarup Damodar, his personal associate. The Lord also gave me the garland of small conchas that he wore on his chest and a stone from Golden Hill, although they were very dear to him. That same Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awakens within my heart and makes me mad after him. Thus I have described the meeting of Raghunath Das with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyone who hears about this incident thanks the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Very good. Pray at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy. I, Krishna Das, narrate the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki
Jai.